So the first article I wanted to take a look at is entitled Michelle Bachmann and Franklin Graham Won't Blame Conservatives for Capitol Coup. As I'm sure most of you guys have heard by now, there was an insurrection on the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. It's everywhere right now. They're talking about impeaching Donald Trump over it and stuff like that because he did outright encourage this situation. I mean, his friends and family, his personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, they all outright called for violence at their demonstrations and their speeches to this mob before they reached the Capitol building. And sure enough, they went to the Capitol building, and guess what happened? Violence ensued. It was a big, ugly mess. I'm sure you guys already know about it. And if you don't, I put out some stuff about it on my main channel, so go check that out. But, of course, as expected, Michelle Bachmann is denying reality, denying that this is what took place. Let's read the article and see what she had to say about it. The usual brand of Trump-worshipping Christian sycophants were still at it last night, following the right-wing insurrection, falsely claiming that the siege of the Capitol was the result of left-wing agitators. During a prayer call last night, former Minnesota Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann blamed paid rabble-rousers rather than the very kind of activists she spent years appealing to. Let's watch this clip from Michelle Bachmann, see exactly what this nutbag had to say.
This is a coup. Don't think for a minute that these were nasty, naughty, ridiculous, hillbilly Trump people.
Okay, wait a minute. Nobody ever said anything about them being hillbilly. Why did she call them hillbillies? That's kind of funny, isn't it? Nobody ever said hillbilly. Did anybody say hillbilly? Why is she calling them hillbillies? I think that's hilarious. She just kind of played her hand there, didn't she, a little bit? Is it just me?
Hillbilly Trump people. That is not what you saw today. These were paid rabble-rousers, paid to put together a coup. Now,
okay, that's a claim, right? She just claimed that the coup attempt on the Capitol was instigated by basically Antifa, right? That's basically what Trump is saying right now and what his little sycophants are saying. That's a possibility. Not discounting that possibility, but you know what we need to know for sure? We need evidence. And that's something that we have in short supply right now. The FBI came out and said when the Minneapolis police station was burned down, there were right-wing agitators pushing it toward that and may have even lit the fire. I don't remember. I don't want to say for sure because I don't have the data right in front of me. But the FBI at the very least came out and said there were right-wing agitators involved in some of the BLM protests, trying to push things toward violence. That's a piece of evidence. The FBI coming out and saying that is a piece of evidence. What evidence do we have that Antifa or whatever was involved in the Capitol insurrection? Zero. We have zero. None. The FBI has not come out and said that. Not discounting the possibility that they might at some point. Who knows? I don't fucking know. I'm not an FBI agent. But up to this moment, she's lying. She's lying and propagandizing and trying to twist the narrative to make things more favorable to her side. Maybe in 2 months we'll have more information and she will be proven to have been right all along. Who fucking knows? But right now she's not right. And if she is right 2 months down the line, it was only by happenstance, not because she knew what she was talking about. Let's keep listening to her.
here's the good news. Like Jim said, newsflash, God is still on the throne. Newsflash. For 6 months, we saw the greatest outpouring of prayer and fasting for this nation that I have ever seen in any election.
And where's that gotten us? Has that helped us much? How's this country doing? Are we closer together as a country? Are we stronger as a country because God's still on the throne? Because those prayer warriors were taking part in their praying or whatever the fuck it is they do? No. This country's a fucking train wreck right now, thanks to Donald Trump. My issue isn't with conservatives or conservatism. Conservatives and I, we have disagreements, and I believe that disagreements are okay. I believe that debate and discussion are at the heart of democracy. I believe that we should be able to talk about things and work through it together. That's not something that Donald Trump has ever stood for. I have a problem with Donald Trump very specifically, not with conservatives or conservatism, although I do have issues with that stuff too. My issue is with Donald Trump and Trumpists, Trump cult members. Let's keep listening to her. She only has a second left anyway.
The church rose up, the church prayed, the church fasted, the church did what it was supposed to do.
And has that made anything better? Has that made anybody's lives better at all? Are we in a better place now than we were 4 years ago? I said this 4 years ago, 2016, when Trump got elected. Republicans controlled the entire government. They controlled the House of Representatives. Paul Ryan was the Speaker of the House, Republican. They controlled the Senate, and they controlled the Supreme Court. Because the Senate, Mitch McConnell specifically, delayed and refused to put Merrick Garland up for a vote in the Senate. He refused to let Obama fill that empty seat, the Scalia seat. So when Trump entered office, they controlled all 4 pieces of government. They controlled the House of Representatives, the Senate, the Supreme Court, and the presidency. And after that, 2018, they controlled all of that except the House of Representatives. They didn't control that. So they have controlled, Republicans that is, Trump specifically, have controlled basically the entire government for the past 4 years, on and off. Are we in a better place now than we were 4 years ago? That's the question that I wanted to ask 4 years ago when he took office. We will see America remade in the image of conservatism, in the image of the Republican Party, in the image of Trump. This America that we're in right now at this moment, this is what Donald Trump wanted it to be. If it's not, then he sat around on his fat ass and did nothing for 4 years. He had all the power, held all the cards. Is this what he wanted? Let's get back to the article by Hemant Mehta. This is from the video we just watched. Quote, "The members I was with tonight are angry with President Trump tonight," she said. "They are spouting the false narrative." Bachmann claimed without evidence that paid rabble-rousers had stormed the U.S. Capitol and said it was all part of a coup. This is Hemant Mehta speaking. Evangelist Franklin Graham echoed the same lie, but went even further, suggesting to Religion News Service that Antifa was to blame. I got the impression that that's what Bachmann was implying. I guess Bachmann just said it was paid rabble-rousers, didn't get as specific as Antifa. This is Franklin Graham from Religion News Service. Quote, "They have a right to protest, to tell people to go home. It's not for me to decide that. The people who broke the windows in the Capitol did not look like the people out there demonstrating. Most likely it was Antifa. For people busting windows, they need to go home, but for people standing out there peacefully holding flags and protesting, they have every right to do that." Completely ridiculous to claim that it was anybody except who we saw with our own 2 eyes. We saw Trump supporters wearing MAGA hats out there causing death and destruction. They're going off the script and trying to force blame onto somebody else because they don't like the results of what happened. Let's keep reading. This is Hemant Mehta. "We wouldn't be having this discussion if people were just holding flags. They sieged the Capitol, egged on by Donald Trump, and Franklin Graham has spent 4 years defending Trump's lies and corruption and pretending that every criticism of him is a form of anti-Christian persecution. He can't even bring himself to denounce Trump when there's violence and vandalism in his name being carried out by their shared supporters. Franklin Graham is Christian nationalism in a nutshell. He'll do anything to enact a socially conservative agenda, using Jesus as a tool to accumulate that power, then ignoring everyone's subsequent suffering. He doesn't give a shit about the Capitol or democracy. He'll gleefully set this world on fire because he believes he'll be rewarded in the afterlife." That's really the most disturbing part about this whole thing, isn't it? The fact that these people really don't care what happens to you or to the United States or to anything else. And in fact, there is a silver lining behind every mushroom cloud, to quote Sam Harris. They want to see death and destruction because it means Armageddon is closer and heaven is that much closer for them. How fucking disturbing is that? How do you build a society on that notion? How do you build a society on that? How do you build a society with people who believe that society's destruction is a good thing? How do you do it? It's fucking disturbing. Pastor Robert Jeffress, who's been a regular on the Fox News circuit, didn't go quite that far, but he still created a false equivalence between Antifa and angry Republicans. I actually found this extremely fascinating, what Robert Jeffress said. You guys probably know Robert Jeffress, because I've talked about this guy before, like a billion times. I love following this fucking nutcase. So this is Robert Jeffress's tweet on the subject. Disobeying and assaulting police is a sin, whether it's done by Antifa or angry Republicans. Fascinating. That's true, there is a false equivalency to be had here. But this tweet, I believe, from Robert Jeffress was probably more directed at Republicans than the left or whatever. I think Robert Jeffress is basically turned on Trump at this point. Jeffress wrote an op-ed on the Fox News website, I think, about how he's going to stand behind President Biden because his success is the country's success and things like that. It was a big fucking deal. And I did a clip about that a while back, maybe a month or two ago, I don't remember, after the election anyways. But this tweet, as true as it is that it's creating a false equivalence, this cuts deep for Republicans who are reading it. This cuts deep for his congregation members that are reading this. Because he is basically telling them, you are no better than the enemy than we have sworn to fight if you take part in this or approve of it in any way. And here we are. Here we are. They are approving of this and trying to defend it. I mean, look at what Michelle Bachmann was saying. So the fact that Robert Jeffress said this, disobeying and assaulting police is a sin, whether it's done by Antifa or angry Republicans, that's true, he's creating a false equivalence, but I think there's a little bit more here than it seems on the surface. It's actually a really big fucking deal that he said that in the first place. Anyway, let's keep reading the article. The rioters were in D.C. for a Trump rally meant to overturn the election results. They went to the Capitol because Trump told them to do it. They broke in and destroyed things while Trump said nothing of substance. They believe the election was fraudulent because Trump and other Republicans and right-wing media outlets have perpetuated that lie for weeks, and even that comes after years of pretending they're victims of persecution. The persecution complex is an important part of any cult. You have to have the persecution complex. You have to have that sense of injustice. You rally troops with that. They will always have this sense of injustice, no matter what. It's built into the fucking structure of the religion, structure of the belief system. Shouldn't have said religion, I'm sorry. It's built into the structure of the belief system. And Trump uses that persecution complex at every opportunity. This is the last paragraph. The rest of us live in reality, but those rioters with tacit support from white evangelical Christians who have been telling their people for years that Trump and God are on the same side and a political loss may as well mark the end of their faith. I was actually reading something called the Donald.win recently. I don't know if you guys know of that website, but it's under surveillance by the FBI right now. The Donald.win. Fascinating read. Fascinating read. People up until, a few days ago at the very least, up until people started getting visited by FBI agents on that website, people were actually planning terrorist plots, basically. They were planning terrorist actions on that website openly. Of course, the FBI is involved now in visiting some of the people on the list, so that's calmed down heavily. But reading some of the things that they've said on that website, it's just such a fascinating glimpse into their headspace. It's the closest you'll ever get to like a cult message board. Completely open, unprotected cult message board. It's kind of a shame in many ways that they're basically censoring themselves now that the FBI is involved. Because getting that glimpse into the headspace like that is just something that you can't find anywhere else. Luckily, I saved some of the posts, so hopefully over time I'll get to go through some of the comments and the posts and stuff on there just to get an idea of, how they feel and what they think and stuff like that. But one of the posts on there, you know what? This is going to be a long podcast, but I feel like it's worth it. I'm going to pull this up. Hang on. Okay, so this is the Donald.win. This is one of the posts they put out immediately after. So after the riot took place at the Capitol, Trump came out and said, he basically denounced the rioters. He was like, okay, and we're going to have this peaceful transition, and those rioters aren't Americans, and they don't represent Americans, blah, 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 all that other shit, right? So I went to the Donald.win out of curiosity to see what they were saying about this, and this is the post. They said, stop saying 2022 and 2024. Stop it. Normally I just lurk. I think this is the second time I've actually logged in, but I have watched the Donald ever since it was formed on Reddit. I just think something needs to be said. I'm no doomer. I've kept hope this entire time. Never once doubted POTUS. Oh, by the way, on the Donald, usually they refer to him as Geotus also. This is an anomaly, calling him POTUS. Geotus, God Emperor of the United States. Unironically call him that. It's not a joke. Watching the message from President Trump tonight certainly made me feel like I just got dumped, and I disagree with just about everything he said for once. There is nothing more patriotic than what I saw at the Capitol. But I still have hope. Not that he's going to do anything, but that patriots across the country will. But it isn't for 2022 or 2024. There's no hope there. Stop laying down and taking it like a bitch. This is why we lost, because every time we get fucked, people say we'll get them next time. No, we won't, because they don't play fair. Do you really think 2022 or 2024 will matter in the slightest? We will never have another fair election again. These people don't live in the same reality as us. Seriously. They don't live in reality. With their new power, they will ensure that they have control over every election going forward, and the only people to win are the ones they choose. It's now or never. If you want your country back, this is the last chance we have. If this isn't turned around, we'll never be free again. They'll open the borders, they'll take the guns, they'll put our children on hormone blockers, they'll put people in jail for speech, they'll slowly kill off the ones that become a problem for them. You've seen this. You know how the Democrats work. They are sick and they are perverts. They are evil people that have a warped view of the world. Every city they touch burns. We are in for hell on earth. My generation is going to suffer if the world goes in this direction. My point here is simply this. You can't rely on democracy when one side cheats and the other side thinks they're too good to cheat. So I guess he's saying one side cheats, which is the Democrats, and the other side, Republicans, they're too good to cheat. They're above cheating, according to this person. Jesus, dude. What is going through these people's minds? How did they get to this point? I study cults for a living, and this is a fucking enigma to me. We aren't going to win any election ever again because they will control the votes. I'm not a doomer, that's just reality. This is our last stand. Start coming up with real solutions. What can we legally do, if anything? But stop telling people we can win another election. It's moronic. Side note, I feel pretty badass having my second post ever get sticky tonight. Wow, thanks. Just felt it needed to be made clear. Now, as I said, they have mostly stopped planning violent terrorist attacks on here for the most part. But this post may have been before they stopped planning that stuff. So I'm going to read the comments in a second, and we're going to see if there are any violent suggestions. I don't think people are truly understanding the gravity of what's happened. A group has successfully stolen all three branches of our federal government through fraud and threats. There are no more checks and balances to power. Everything they ever wanted to change about our country, down to the very Constitution, is going to happen unopposed. It's going to take an armed revolution to end it, and I really do not believe people, even here, are ready to accept that. Here's another person. Not only did they steal it, the courts approved, the state legislatures allowed it, and the Supreme Court refused to even hear the case. The ammo box is the only way out. We need to do it without warning so they don't have time to get to the tunnels. Fall like a thunderbolt, as they say. January 6th was the last chance. You've heard about the defenses they're building. What the fuck do you expect to do now? This was posted on January 7th, so 3 days ago from when this stream was produced. Probably a week or so ago by the time people on YouTube are seeing this. Turn their empire into an empire of dirt by secession and nullification. Secession will lead to invasion, unfortunately. Hence why I keep pointing out that Texas is the only state that has a military. My cousin is in the Texas Navy, lol. Nah, I'll say exactly what I think, and no. Fact, Trump will not be inaugurated on January 20th. Conclusion, I will never vote again, unless Trump runs in the future. Even if it's pointless, I'll still do it out of gratitude for his service, if and when that time comes. Until then, stop denying reality. Lintards? I guess he meant libtards. It's sad. If we all move to Texas to defend it, we won't be fighting the U.S., but OWG. I don't know what OWG means. Maybe that's code or something. Who's invading who? You think the communists will invade Texas? Let me just search for the word Jew. Oh, look at that. Somebody's talking about Jews on here. Let's see what it says. Holy fuck, dude. These people live in a different reality. No joke. Texas property futures are through the roof, probably. Oklahoma is a safer bet, smaller, and is less populated. Indians there are conservative because oil. No blacks, no Jews. I guess they're outlining no blacks and no Jews as like an ideal situation. Like, I want this. This is awesome. Great. Let's have this. That's what this person is saying. Great start. Fracture the team. Still falling for uniparty kabuki while talking about unseating them. I'm a Jew. I have news for you. My people are more responsible for what happened to us than anyone else on this planet. Holy shit, dude. Holy shit. Based, this person says. And if you turn that into a per capita basis, it gets really startling. Oh my god, dude. I am also a Jew. There were many Jews and blacks in D.C. yesterday fighting for a country they believe in. STFU. Also a full-on Trumper Jew here. Wow, dude. Honestly, I don't even know, like, where to go with these people. Like, there is a cancer growing in the United States right now, and it is full-blown mainstream. All I can do at this point is look for a solution. So what do we do to solve this problem? How do we solve this problem? I've been talking about this for a couple of months now. The solution, in my opinion, is denazification. It is what the United States and the Soviet Union worked together to do in Germany after World War II. Denazification. They put up the Nuremberg trials. They put anybody who was directly responsible for atrocities on trial. And after that, they banned any rhetoric or symbols or anything like that related to the Nazi Party. You weren't allowed to have that shit in public. And over time, eventually, that truncated any chance, that destroyed the chance of the party recruiting new people, because they're not allowed to do it in public anymore. This group of people in Germany were killing people, and it needed to be done for society's safety. So what we're seeing in the United States now is the process of denazification. Twitter banned Donald Trump and a bunch of people who have said, violent things in support of Trump. Facebook banned him, YouTube banned him, everybody has banned Donald Trump. They are truncating his ability to recruit new members. That's what's happening right now in the U.S. This is a far more serious situation than a lot of people realize. I'm just glad that he didn't win another 4 years, because honestly, I can't even imagine what the U.S. would look like 8 years into a presidency where the president is a full-blown cult leader and finally realizes his true potential as such.